The movie opens with chaos blasting through military radios as soldiers all over the world report a sudden attack by mysterious creatures. Towns fall instantly, and one soldier shouts that Netherland, Colorado is destroyed, except for everything above 8,000 feet. The monsters can't climb that high, and the military is wiped out in minutes. 3 years later, the last pockets of humanity survive only by living high in the mountains. In the Colorado Rockies, a small town is home to a boy named Hunter and his father, Will. Hunter often sneaks below the safe altitude line just to look at another survivor camp across a distant mountain. One day, on his way back, he spots a glowing red light behind him. A monster has caught his scent. He sprints uphill with everything he's got. The creature chases him hard, but once Hunter crosses the elevation line, it suddenly stops. He barely makes it. When Hunter gets home and explains what happened, Will is furious. Not because he's angry, but because he's terrified. Hunter has weak lungs and uses oxygen every night. A chase like that could have killed him. The next morning, Will goes hunting with Katie, his late wife's best friend. They talk about Hunter sneaking off. Katie understands. Hunter's lonely and wishes he had kids his age around. But for Will, it's more personal. The spot Hunter visits is the last place he ever saw his mother alive. Later, they pass by Nina, the town's scientist, testing homemade armor-piercing rounds on a piece of monster scale. Before the world collapsed, she was a brilliant researcher. Now, she's obsessed with finding a way to kill the creatures. That night, Hunter's oxygen machine starts beeping. Will changes the filters, but he realizes they're running dangerously low. Hunter was born premature, and without those filters, his lungs could fail at any moment. Will knows he has only one option. He must travel down to Boulder. The hospital there might still have what Hunter needs, but entering the lowlands is almost certain death. Before making that decision real, Will tries to give Hunter a good day. He teaches him how to protect their potato plants, shows him how to fish, and buys the last box of mac and cheese from the town store, Hunter's favorite, for his birthday dinner. During the meal, Hunter asks why they don't talk to other towns on the radio. Will explains that they barely have enough power to keep his oxygen machine running, so they stick to using flags for communication. Afterward, Will shares a couple beers with Katie as they watch Nina work on her latest experiment. For a moment, they all remember what life was like before the world broke. But late that night, Hunter suffers another attack. The machine can't help him anymore, and Will is forced to use one of their last emergency syringes. That's when Will accepts the truth. If he doesn't go to Boulder now, Hunter won't survive. He heads to Nina's place and the two immediately clash. Nina drinks to drown her guilt, and Will drinks to keep himself from exploding. We learn that Nina once led a supply run down to Boulder to get chemicals for her weapon research. That mission is where Tara, Will's wife, was killed. Nina was the only one who made it back. Will still carries that bitterness, but Nina is the only person alive who has successfully returned from the lowlands. He tells her she owes him, but she refuses, calling the plan suicide. Will walks away, convinced she'll follow. After he leaves, Nina starts building a special compass. Her hands shake as she relives the memory of watching her team get torn apart. She's haunted by Tara's death and crushed by guilt. The guilt finally hits her like a punch to the chest, and she caves. She agrees to join the mission, even though every instinct tells her it's suicide. Will doesn't waste a second. He finds a local woman and begs her to watch Hunter for 5 days. Just 5 days. That's all he needs to grab the filters and come back. At sunrise, Will hits the armory, loading up anything that shoots, explodes, or even looks dangerous. That's when Caddy storms in, furious. "So you're just gonna dip? Walk straight into a death trap without even saying goodbye?" Will apologizes, but she's too heated to care. You can tell she's got feelings for him she doesn't want to admit. Then, out of nowhere, she grabs a rifle and locks it in. "I'm coming with you." "No, you're not." That wasn't a question. She's right. No one survives out there alone. But before Will can respond, Nina steps into the room. "I'm already going." That only fires Caddy up even more. Outside, Nina pulls Caddy aside. She's blunt. Those monsters down there aren't the shadows you watch from the safe peaks. Up close, they slice through people like paper, and bullets barely slow them down. "You want a chance to live? Shoot them in the face. You'll get maybe 3 seconds. Maybe." Before they leave, Will kneels down and promises Hunter he'll be back in 5 days. Hunter doesn't even try to hide the pain. That's what Mom said, right before she left with Nina. The words cripple Will, but he forces himself to stand and move. The three of them head out, following a route designed to keep them below the deadly altitude for as little time as possible. Their shortcut? A ski lift that'll shoot them across the lowlands in minutes, if they can reach it alive. Tension builds fast. Nina and Caddy can't stand each other, and Will is stuck in the middle of two ticking time bombs. He finally snaps when he catches Nina sneaking a swig from a flask. He slaps it out of her hand. No alcohol, not down here. Soon they spot what's left of a military convoy scattered across the valley floor. Trucks smashed open, bodies torn apart, everything shredded by monsters. Supplies are supplies, so they hike down. Nina explains her compass isn't normal. It picks up the magnetic field inside monsters, stronger than anything else living on Earth. If the needle twitches, something hungry is nearby. She drops the compass into Caddy's hands. Your job now, don't screw it up. While Will rummages through the wreckage, Nina digs up a monster scale, thick, armored, worth studying. Will finds a grenade launcher but admits he has zero idea how it works. Caddy takes it like it's nothing. I'm from Texas, she shrugs. Yeah, I'm from Louisiana, Will fires back. Doesn't mean my dad taught me how to launch grenades. Once they're packed up, the two women explode. Nina accuses Caddy of chasing a married man. Caddy fires back that Nina is the reason that man's wife died. Things get ugly, shoving, yelling, even throwing punches, before Will forces them apart. They march on, bruised and bitter. Hours later, they stumble across a massive herd of wild horses running free across the valley. Life down here may be lethal, but nature is thriving without humans dragging it down. By sunset, they reach an old ski resort. The lift is still standing, swaying in the wind. It's their ticket to the next mountain. But before they can climb, Nina's compass lights up bright red. A monster is close. Too close. Caddy wants to sprint straight uphill to safety, but Nina freezes. There's no time. The forest behind them goes dead silent, and something huge starts moving. Will instantly takes Nina's side and bolts toward the lift control hut. The monster crashes through the trees behind them, closing the distance like it owns the whole forest. Caddy doesn't hesitate. She fires the grenade launcher straight at its face. The blast pops like thunder, slows the thing for half a second, but it doesn't even scratch it. That's when reality hits. This creature isn't just tough, it's practically unstoppable. Nina and Caddy spread out, laying down fire while Will slams switches and shoves levers until the lift finally groans to life. He and Nina jump onto the first moving chair. Caddy, now stranded on the ground as the chair rises, scrambles up a metal support pole, leaps into the air, and barely catches the edge. Will grabs her arms and hauls her in, and the monster lashes out with a whip-like tentacle. It cracks against the cable with a sound like metal screaming. The whole lift jerks violently. The three of them lose their grip and go tumbling off the chair. Luckily, the drop is short, just enough to bruise every bone but not kill them. They don't wait to see if the creature is coming again. They sprint, lungs burning, toward the invisible altitude line. They cross it just as the monster skids to a stop, snarling at the boundary like there's a wall it can't break. It wants them, but something in its brain simply won't let it climb higher. That night, they crash inside one of the abandoned ski cabins. They share a bottle of whiskey, just enough to dull the shakes, while Nina finally talks about the first days of the apocalypse. The attacks were instant. No warning, no pattern. Cities vanished in hours. Humanity didn't even get a chance to study the monsters before the world fell apart. And the strangest part? The creatures don't hunt animals. They don't eat anything they kill. It's like they exist purely to wipe out humans, nothing else. Nobody's ever seen them sleep either, but for some reason they absolutely refuse to go above a certain altitude. Will goes quiet. He remembers the fight he had with Tara before her last mission. He told her Nina was reckless, obsessed with becoming the first person to kill a monster, no matter who died along the way. Tara didn't listen. She went anyway, and she never came back. By morning, the group reaches a mine entrance carved into the mountain. Will claims it's just a tunnel that cuts straight through and pops out safely on the other side. Nina stops dead when she sees it. She is livid. You didn't tell us the middle dips below the safe line. Will tries to defend himself, but she's not wrong. The monsters came from underground. They move through darkness like water. They see heat, carbon dioxide, everything. And now they're choosing to go straight into their territory. Inside the tunnel, her compass becomes useless. The rock messes with the signal. They strap on helmets, turn their flashlights to low, and step deeper into the mountain with nothing but the sound of their own breathing echoing through the stone. When they reach the exit on the far side, the gates are sealed shut. Their only option is to climb down a steel ladder into an even lower tunnel. It dips deeper, too deep, but they don't have a choice. Once they hit the bottom, Caddy asks, "So what, we just sprint?" Nina shakes her head. "If we run, we breathe harder. We dump 4 times the CO2. They'll smell us from half a mile away. Slow. Quiet. No panicking." Will tries to joke to calm his nerves. "Just need a minute to think about my upcoming death." Caddy cracks a tiny smile. "Didn't know you were funny." "Didn't know you were smart," he shoots back. The moment doesn't last. They spot a faint red glow pulsing down one of the side tunnels. The same glow they've seen on the monster's tentacles. They freeze. Then they run. Caddy fires a grenade behind them, hoping to collapse the corridor. It barely dents the rock. The creature behind them keeps coming, scraping its massive body through the tunnel like it's peeling the mountain open. The trio dives into a narrow crawl space and kills their lights. The air goes still. No breathing, no talking. Not even a gasp. They have to stop releasing carbon dioxide. Even a single breath could give them away. In total darkness, they wait. While something enormous drags itself closer, the monster creeps closer, tentacles drifting through the dark like antennae sniffing the air. Its sensors crackle and pulse, searching for the slightest breath of carbon dioxide. Will sees it getting too close, way too close, and sparks a flare with a sharp snap. The sudden blast of red light throws the creature off long enough for them to crawl deeper through the tunnel. Caddy leads, crawling fast until she suddenly freezes. Something is in front of her. Before anyone can react, another monster launches out of the darkness. A tentacle blasts forward, spearing straight through her chest. Caddy doesn't even have time to scream. She's yanked backward into the black, swallowed by the tunnel. Will lunges after her, but Nina pulls him back. It's pointless. She's gone. They climb the next ladder in a daze, bursting out of the mine into cold air. They sit for a moment, just long enough to breathe, just long enough to feel the weight of losing her, but they can't stay. They move on. By nightfall, they reach an old ranger's house. Will spots a dusty box of macaroni and cheese, the same kind his son begs for every week. He thinks about Hunter, about the dozens of nights he made this exact meal while listening to his kid ramble about school. It hits him hard. How many more times will he get? Sitting by the fire, Nina finally reveals what she's been chasing. Monster scales aren't just armor, they generate electromagnetic fields. If she can craft a bullet that disrupts that field at the perfect microsecond, the monster's whole body could overload and blow itself apart. "A bullet with a parasite coating," she says, drawing diagrams in the dirt. If the field collapses while the creature's charged, boom, instant combustion from the inside. Will shakes his head. "My wife died helping you chase this. A magic bullet?" "It's not magic," she snaps. "It's science. It's a hypothesis. But it's the first real one anyone's had." At sunrise, they load the ranger's truck and drive toward the boundary where the ruined city sits. If they want to survive, Will needs medical filters. And if Nina wants to test her theory, she needs chemicals from a real lab. The highway drops into the dead zone. The temperature feels wrong. The silence feels wrong. Everything feels like it's watching them. Inside the hospital, they creep through hallways filled with dust and decay. Shelves after shelves are empty, stripped bare years ago. A crash echoes from below, and the hair on Will's arm stands straight up. That noise wasn't debris, it was breathing. They keep searching until Will finally finds a second supply room. Untouched, hidden behind a metal emergency door. Filters, dozens of them. Enough to keep Hunter alive for months. He stuffs his backpack until it's bursting. Nina checks her compass and the needle starts spinning. Something is coming. The walls crack open as a monster barrels through the building like it's made of paper. Will and Nina sprint up a flight of stairs, but a tentacle erupts from the wall and wraps around Will's torso, crushing him. He gasps, pinned like an insect. Nina swings a fire axe at the tentacle with everything she's got. The blade digs in, the creature shrieks, and Will drops free. Alarms blare, sprinklers explode to life, filling the hall with steam. Will and Nina run through the haze and stumble into a storage room stacked with oxygen tanks. Will spots them and instantly forms a plan. Nina, run! What? No. Run! He waits until the monster charges through the mist. Then he fires one perfect shot. The bullet hits a tank. The tank detonates. The entire hallway turns into a sunburst. The explosion hurls the monster out the side of the building and leaves it sprawled across the pavement, twitching but no longer moving. Nina runs back to him, shaken. I thought I told you to run, he mutters. And since when do I listen? She fires back. But instead of heading back to the mountains, she tells him they need to detour to a lab. If they don't test her theory now, they'll just end up hiding on mountaintops until their filters run out, and humanity finally dies off for good. How long did you just buy us? She asks. 6 months, Will answers. Maybe a year. Exactly. And then you're back here again. We can't live like that forever. She steps closer, her voice turning fierce. If we can prove these things can be killed, everyone still alive on those mountaintops will come down. The whole world will fight with us. Will looks out at the wrecked city, the smoking monster, the impossible odds, and for the first time, it feels like they might have a real shot. Will finally gives in, and they head for the lab. Neither of them notices the monster they blew to pieces, slowly twitching back to life behind them. The lab, Nina's old workplace, looks like time froze the day the world fell apart. For the first time since they met, Nina actually looks steady, almost confident. She jumps right into the tests, mixing chemicals, coating bullets, heating samples, firing test rounds into chunks of monster armor. Will wanders the empty halls and accidentally walks into her old office. The dust is thick, the shelves untouched. That's when he sees a photo frame turned face down. He picks it up, and there they are. 2 smiling kids. A husband. A life she never mentioned. When he confronts her, she doesn't try to hide it. She tells him she lost all of them the day the monsters hit her town, because she chose to go into work on her day off. The guilt eats her alive. She admits she pushed Tara into joining her last mission because she was desperate to make that guilt mean something. She believed she had finally figured out a way to slow the creatures down. But she was wrong, and Tara paid the price. If it helps, she says quietly, I hate myself more than you could ever hate me. Will softens. I blame you because it's easier than blaming myself. I knew she'd go, even after I begged her not to. Neither of them can carry the blame alone, and neither of them can keep running from it. But the experiments still aren't working. Bullet after bullet bounces off the sample armor like pebbles. Will tells her they should pack up and head back. Hunter needs him, but Nina refuses. She tells him she's staying. If she cracks the code, she'll take her old car and meet him later. It's my mess, she tells him. My responsibility. You need to get those filters to your kid. Reluctantly, Will leaves her behind. Desperate, Nina changes her approach. She grabs a blowtorch to speed up the bonding process. Then her eyes land on a bin of rechargeable batteries. Inside, cobalt, a metal used in powerful magnets, heat-resistant, holds charge, and if she can combine it with her coding. This could be the breakthrough. She scrapes the batteries open, mixes what she needs, coats her bullets, heats them, charges them. One perfect round. Just one. The compass needle suddenly stops. Dead still. A monster is right outside. The wall caves in. Dust explodes everywhere. Nina doesn't run. She takes aim, breath steady, and fires. Meanwhile, Will is tearing down the mountain road in the Ranger truck when the front tire explodes. The vehicle flips, smashes into a boulder, and rolls. Everything goes black. When he wakes, the sun is setting, and something is growling nearby. He grabs his backpack and sprints across the rocky slopes toward the safe altitude line. But another monster emerges from the dark ahead of him. Then another. And another. He's surrounded. Will fires until his rifle clicks empty. It's hopeless. Just when the nearest monster rears up to strike, the creature suddenly locks up, like its whole body short circuits. It collapses, then detonates into a fireball. Will looks up. Nina stands on the ridge, rifle in hand, smoke drifting from the barrel. She nails the second monster, then the third. Each one explodes, flinging metal guts everywhere. These things aren't animals, they're machines. Sleek alien machines built with tech far beyond anything human. Programmed to hunt humans. Programmed to refuse high altitude. Nina jokes weakly, maybe aliens, or maybe the Chinese? Will just stares at her. She shrugs. Kidding, too soon? They head back to the village together, carrying the first true victory humanity has had in years. Hunter runs into Will's arms, crying. Nina raises a flag at the village center, a black flag with a skull symbol, sending a message to every settlement in range. The monsters can be killed. The news spreads fast. Radios crackle with hope for the first time since the world ended. Villagers start crafting their own makeshift cobalt rounds, copying Nina's design with whatever scraps they can find. By the river, Will and Nina place a single bullet on the memorial stone. Caddy's name scratched into the casing. A promise they won't forget her. Soon after, a volunteer squad heads down the mountain, armed with the new bullets. Smoke and explosions light up the valley as the monsters, those alien robots, get torn apart one by one. Humanity isn't hiding anymore, they're fighting back, and for the first time in 3 years, they're actually winning.